Thank you for staying. Let's settle for the news now. And in our first story, residents of Ashalaja are asking government to come to their aid after the Dinsu River flooded the entire community. Many of them have been sleeping out of their homes for days with little or no essentials. Roads have also been partially submerged. The residents want government to send aid as soon as possible. Michael Ashali now reports.
Flooded homes in Ashalaja, a community in the Gassouth municipality. Water from the Dinsu River entered homes after overflowing its banks. Many residents have now abandoned their homes.
3 days today is very hard for us, even to leave your children in the home to go out and do your market. You can't go to do anything.
Rita Sika is one of many displaced.
Last night there we went to the Abain school and sleep. Some of them sleep there, and some of us, we have some friends and others, and we went there yesterday.
So your children are not going to school?
No, even today my boy didn't go to school because of the water.
Life as she knows it has changed.
This one there, you can't do anything, even going to the market, you can't do anything.
With nowhere to go and her belongings lost, she's only roaming the community. Her son, Gideon, couldn't go to school. His uniform and books are back in their home, which is now flooded.
That affected me to not go to school, and my learning too is not going well for me. At the night, my mother was having a friend, we went to sleep at the house. I miss learning so that I can become a good boy in the future.
The only road connecting the communities around Ashalaja to Kaswa has also caved in. With only a small portion of the road left, residents bent on crossing it had to be guided. Owners of vehicles had to return because it was impossible to cross. Emmanuel Tay, a resident of Obeyeye, recounts the difficulty of crossing the submerged road on foot.
This is very bad. It's very, very bad. Yesterday I couldn't bring my car home. So the boys were here yesterday directing the affair, how and we should move in and out. So a lot of people have packed their cars. They couldn't go home with the car. So I have the information this morning that I cannot use the car, so I have to pack my car. Yesterday I was very afraid though, because I have not experienced it before with the car. The first time when the bridge collapsed, I was not having a car, so we managed through with the boat. But this time, as I was driving, I have not driven through water like this before. So yesterday I was very, very afraid, but I have to gather some courage and pass through yesterday.
Assemblyman for the area, Wisdom Avonyo, says they had to use boats to rescue stranded residents, but finding a boat was a hectic job.
In fact, for the homes we are over 500 and the individuals are over 2,000. Because right now we have this situation pending at Kwamiano, a place called Mamines Junction. This situation is there. We have it pending here, which is this place, we call it Assemblies of God down. Then we have the same situation again pending at 3rd October down. So you see that Ashalaja is a place that is being bounded by this river Dinsu. So all the banks along the Dinsu where we have these communities and structures, they are all affected. Because we needed a canoe, and NADMO didn't have any to supply us. So we have to follow the individuals and then the locals and see how best. So we were planning to go to Afuama, which is a fishing community. But luckily enough, we had a neighbor who was fishing and we called to him for assistance. But unfortunately, to be frank, the whole place is being invaded, it's being encroached by these sound-winning activities. And anytime that you get there to go and raise them, they are all armed. And they come there in the night. So we find it very difficult. So if the government can come in with a strong team, I think it's going to do a massive work, because when you look at the stretch from Ashalaja, Afuama going, all has been encroached upon. We need the assistance of the government strictly.
Affected residents want authorities to come to their aid. For JoyNews, Michael Ashale.
Now in our next story, kingmakers of the Akona royal family and some farmers at Pechi No. 1 are unhappy with their chief for allowing a surge in illegal mining activities in the area. They accuse him of selling farmlands for galamsey activities. Residents also say their sources of water supply have been destroyed by the heavy pollution from mining. H-FM's Ewuku Malik visited some sites at Pechi number 1.
Cocoa farms and other lands for food crops have been excavated for gold mining at Pichi number 1 in the Amansia West district. Vast farmlands are left with huge gullies, posing danger to other farmers in the enclave. To get water for domestic chores, residents trek for almost 2 kilometers daily. Most of the residents now depend on rainwater for domestic chores and farming activities. My farm is over there. I'm going to fetch water to irrigate my farm. Someone collects rainwater, so that's where I'm going for water. There is no water source here. You'd have to hire a tricycle to fetch water for you to water the crops when it's Hamatan. Farmer Alima Osman says her only source of water for irrigation was the Akai stream, which has been destroyed through illegal mining. Most of the farmers here are not natives and therefore own no lands. They have no say when the farmlands are taken from them for other purposes.
We don't have any water source here. We have to trek for hours for water. The Ghana Cocoa Board projects its annual cocoa output to rise to 1.6 million tons by 2026. But this is strengthened by the activities of illegal miners. Mining equipment are visible at most sites visited at Pichi number 1. At a site close to Manso Nyare, a Chinese is in a company of other Ghanaians working. The land belongs to natives of Pichi number 1. Leader of the team, Kennedy Chumesi, claims their boss is in Kumasi. There are no jobs here. Some young miners we met at another site were working with shovels and pickaxes. Without excavators, they are able to mine to make a living. Yaya Abdullahi says he is a senior high school graduate. When there are jobs at the community and you do not join them, people will say you are sluggish. I'm an SHS graduate. I wish I could join the security forces, but I have no one to help me. Mined lands are left uncovered. Head of Ekwana clan, Nana Kwesi, lays the blame on the chief of Pichi number 1. I told the chief here illegal mining is looming out of the community, but he told me to have patience and that he would talk with the miners. I've been to the site thrice to caution them, but the illegal miners told me they are not scared of me. I know the chief is behind their actions. Meanwhile, the youth in Pichi number 1 are planning to demonstrate against the chief, who has failed to respond to the accusations. Ewokuma Lakes reports for JoyNews.
Well, now the West African Network for Peace Building, WANEP, is asking persons residing in Ghana's inland communities to be on high alert over activities of terrorists. National Network Coordinator Albert Yeliang says landlocked areas could serve as trade hubs and regrouping grounds for terrorists. He told participants at a workshop in Kumasi that the presence of terrorists in the Sahel and West Africa sub-region has increased the volatility of terrorism threats. There's more in this report.
Some of Ghana's immediate neighbors, such as Burkina Faso and Togo, have experienced one form of terrorist attacks or the other. The recent arrest of Imam in Karaga, believed to have links with jihadis, raises concern about terrorism. Though Ghana is Africa's second peaceful country, it dropped from 38 in 2021 to 40 in 2022 out of 163 countries on the Global Peace Ranking. According to Reverend Father Anthony Frantanana, the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the National Peace Council, the situation is an indication of rising insecurity in the country.
Ghana is currently ranked second on Global Peace Index in Africa. This score also places Ghana as the 40th most peaceful country on global ranking of 163 countries. This global rank means that Ghana dropped 2 steps from 38 spots in 2021 global ranking, which means that our insecurities are on the rise. The looming threats of terrorism in West Africa's sub-region, coupled with our own security challenges that we face daily in our lives, are all indications of the need for everyone to help sustain the efforts by the government to mitigate existing and emerging threats to peace and security of our region and our country.
The Sahel and West Africa region is the epicenter of terrorism and violent extremism. That is according to the latest data from the Global Terrorism Index. National Network Coordinator of WANEP, Albert Iliyang, warns residents in landlocked areas of Ghana such as Kumasi and other trading centers to be on high alert of terrorist regrouping.
As we speak, Mali is going through a lot of challenges. Burkina Faso is going through a lot of challenges. We have had Togo recording a number of incidences as far as violent extremism is concerned. And the data indicates that there have been a number of times that communities that border Ghana and then inland communities such as we are here, are places where elements of terrorist activities come to recuperate, to kind of regain power and enjoy themselves.
The trading workshop, sponsored by the UNDP, targeted micro, small and medium-scale enterprises on peace building, preventing violent extremism, early warning and response. From Kumasi, for JoyNews, I'm Interior reporting.
Let's talk power issues now. And the Electricity Company of Ghana has indicated that its prepaid vending system in the Volta region has been 99% restored. This follows a nationwide technical challenge of the power distributor's vending system and app last week. The Volta Regional Public Relations Officer Benjamin Akakpo explained that clients issued the 2 categories of prepaid meters in the region can purchase credits from their offices and all vending stations.
The prepaid vending system and power app of the Electricity Company of Ghana experienced a technical challenge last week. This got most clients frustrated as they were unable to purchase credit for their meters and hence did not have electricity to power their gadgets. The vending system was, however, restored in the Volta region on Thursday, where only the vending points at the regional office was functioning. There was a mad rush at the office, compelling the power distribution company to increase vending points from 2 to 9. Some customers shared their experiences at the office.
So at my residence, as at Thursday evening to Friday morning, my power got finished. I was out of light. So Friday morning, I came to the premises. There was a long queue there, which got me worried as at that time. But nonetheless, I was served within a few minutes. And the problem was also resolved as quick as possible. But please, OECG, talk to your IT people. We don't want to experience this again.
So on Thursday, we were told that it was only the ECG yard that we can get power to buy. So I went there on Thursday around 9 in the morning, and the whole place was packed, huge crowd. But it was in order. There were ushers there managing the queue. So I got there and I was able to serve on time. Within 5-7 minutes, I was served.
Nonetheless, the Volta Regional ECG Public Relations Officer, Benjamin Akakpo, detailed that the vending system has been 99% restored in his jurisdiction.
Tuesday, 27 September, around 2 o'clock, we experienced a technical challenge on one of our servers, which interrupted prepaid vending services. So our customers who came to our office and other vending stations could not purchase power supply. So when it happened, what we started doing was our trade executives at our various vending points were engaging the customers one-on-one that there is a technical challenge, the system will be restored. So currently in the Volta region, I would say we are about 99% complete because we have two types of meters in Volta region. The meters are up and running. All customers can purchase at our whole district office and our district office. Now they can also purchase at all the third-party vendors. So the only challenge that we are looking at now has to do with the power app, which we are hoping will be restored very soon.
The power distribution company assured to work to prevent such an unfortunate incident from happening in the future. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News.
Let's turn our gaze now to 26 young women in the Upper East region who have completed 8 weeks of social entrepreneurship training and have the opportunity to access a Catalyst Fund from Youth Challenge International, the organization that gave them the training. The fund will enable the young women to start their own businesses and scale up. Correspondent Albert Sori has more.
Youth Challenge International, YCI, is a Canadian youth-centered non-profit, non-governmental organization which aims to equip developing country youth with skills and resources to contribute positively to their communities. The organization has been working in Ghana for the past 20 years, supporting young people to realize sustainable livelihoods. This year, through the Head Start program, Youth Challenge International, working in partnership with the Bolgatanga Technical University, trained 26 young women in social entrepreneurship. The pseudo-social venture engaged these young women in 8 weeks of mentorship and helped them come up with their own business ideas that would not only create employment for them, but would also impact positively on their communities. These young women have successfully graduated from the training and have been awarded certificates. Some of them have been sharing their experiences after the training.
This 8 weeks program has equipped me to go out there and then to help people. I'm going out there and I'm entering into food vending and then also vegetable packaging, preservation and packaging in my community.
They haven't only taught me how to be a business-oriented person, but to be a business-oriented person socially. What I intend to do is to trade in straw, which is the basic material for basket weaving, because I've realized that I am in a community where everyone are into basket weaving. Here is the case, they don't even get the materials they need for the basket weaving, so it's a great challenge that they are facing.
And in my community, I've realized that most of the homes face a lot of challenges of feeding, that is poverty and hunger. And so my target is to train people on how to do pastries.
They also have the opportunity to apply for seed capital from a Catalyst Fund to start up and grow their own businesses. Esmond Wisdom Kwanzaa is the country project lead for Youth Challenge International.
This Head Start program is designed to support young women reach sustainable livelihoods while bridging the gender divide. From here, they will be able to access a Catalyst Fund. This Catalyst Fund would empower these young women with the seed funding they need to be able to start up their businesses and scale up. We are also supporting them with devices like tablet, laptop, mobile phones to be able to start up. The reason for moving the project to the Upper East region is to stop the myriad of young women migrating to Accra and Kumasi in search of menial jobs.
The Bolgatanga Technical University, BTU, was the partner institution training the young women entrepreneurs. Professor Daniel Ayong is the partner lead for the YCI BTU collaboration.
Our target is to train 351 young girls for this year. Then from there we'll move to select a few of them, about 75 of the girls who have promising ideas for an 8-week, 2-day training. And from there they pitch for a Catalyst Fund of $5,000 each.
For Youth Challenge International, they expect these young women to show determination and go on to become successful entrepreneurs. Nicole Cousins is International Programs Coordinator at Youth Challenge International.
It's great to have an idea of what you want to do, but without actual money, without actual resources to get started, it's hard to do that. So I encourage them to apply for the fund, take the resources that they have, whether it's financial or through the people that they've met through the program, the skills that they've gained through the program, and to not give up.
For these young women, the Head Start program is the stepping stone they need to go on and achieve their dreams, and they are confident that they will impact positively on lives in their communities. Reporting for Joy News, Albert Sori, Bolgatanga.
And from that note of empowerment, we wrap the news. But up next, the news review. Do stay with us. Well, thank you for staying with us. Let's serve you the news review now. And joining us, Political Scientist Director for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asah-Sante. Doc, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us for another Wednesday news review.
Good morning, my brother. I hope you are doing well.
We're trying under the circumstances. I'm going to start on an interesting note this morning. What's the latest for you? I mean, you've seen stories over the past week, stories we may not have had the opportunity of discussing, from Galamsey to the economy. How's the economy of your pocket? And maybe if you could single out one issue to discuss before we get into the papers. I just want to know how Dr. Asah-Sante has been over the past week.
Looking at it, we can touch on the economy. It's still a difficult one. There's no two ways about it. Everywhere you hear stories. I get closer to the people at the grassroots to find out how they are feeling. Terrible, terrible. It's my hope and prayer that the country will be able to rise up to the occasion and provide a breather for the vulnerable, the needy, and the disadvantaged. Times are hard, and I know that when the government is able to put its act together, it should be able to address the problem. But it must listen and must welcome ideas, wherever it's coming from, whoever it's coming from. I have said, and I'll repeat it here, that if the ideas will come from even the devil, excuse my language, and that will be the answers for the country, why not? The government must be able to open up and then allow itself to listen more and then have ideas so that we can turn things around. Otherwise, we are in a very difficult situation. There is absolutely no doubt about that.
Let's get into the Daily Graphic now, Doc, and two related stories. Wager floods, hundreds displaced, low-spirited. I'll be giving you details of that situation, and of course, residents have attributed to the spillage of the Wager Dam. Then, aftermath of floods, the water company shuts down 2 treatment plants. That's a related story in a different part of the country. There's also Chiefs residents want Empire Cement to operate, and College of Physicians secures £10 million to fight diseases. I'll bring you some details on some of these stories. But let's start from the front page of the paper, segueing into page 3. So hundreds of houses around the Wager Dam have been flooded, leaving many residents displaced and in low spirits. The flooding has also led to the destruction of items running into millions of Ghana cedis. They include vehicles, home appliances, uncompleted structures, documents, and other personal effects. The flooding follows the opening of some spill gates of the dam by the Ghana Water Company Limited. This latest spillage, which was unannounced, was to spill excess water to save the dam from collapse due to the recent rains. The areas affected include Oblogo, Tetegu, New Wager, SCC, Tatop, Sampa Valley, parts of Top Town, and American Farm at Englishy, Amanfro. And most of the affected places, including the Wager Dam site, have virtually become tourist attractions as people troop there to catch glimpses of the situation after hearing of the flooding. Yesterday, we were there with our drones and everything, and Doc, pathetic situation. But for me, what stands out, usually, you know, when there's going to be a dam spillage, whether it's Burkina Faso spilling into our country at Bagri or other places, there would be an announcement beforehand. In this instance, the Ghana Water Company Limited had to act to save the dam, but in doing so, it had to do so unannounced, and that has culminated, so to speak, in what we are seeing. What's your take?
I am surprised that they did it unannounced. Why? Didn't they know that we are in this season and then there's a likelihood for this to occur? It all boils down to the point of our planning. I think the planning was poorly done. That is all. Otherwise, they should not be taken by surprise at all. And then you spill, and then the very people that you want to save the dam for, we end up destroying their home. What sense does it make? If they are planned properly and knew the raining patterns and all that, they will be able to put all these things into their planning and then save the society and save the dam as well. There's no point doing one good thing and then at the end of the day, it turns out to be what? An aberration or something that really affects society. It undermines the very exercise that they do. For this one, I will not grant them any credit at all. They got it wrong, and that next time they have to plan ahead. And then if there is a need to do some of these things, you need 1, effective planning, 2, education. And it should be constant education so that the people will be aware that at a point in time, this will happen so that they prepare themselves. And then 3, you should look at the pros and cons. What will be the ultimate benefit? If the benefit is to save the dam and by extension, support the society, then you don't also end up destroying the society with the same water that you want to throw out in order to save the dam. That becomes something difficult to take. But I think going forward, they will take this advice and then work with that.
Well, many of the victims have blamed the Ghana Water Company Limited authorities for not handling the situation well, as, like we are mentioning, there was no prior notice of this particular spillage. Now, when contacted, the unit committee member for Weija, Elder Amponsa Ampao, said having lived at Weija for over 20 years, he had never seen anything like that before. So, of course, it is testament to the fact that this is not the norm, it's the exception. But in this instance, it has wreaked havoc in those areas. Meanwhile, just to be fair, the Ghana Water Company Limited said because of the severity of the situation at the dam, it had opened 4 spill gates for water to flow and save the integrity of the dam. A statement signed by the head of public relations and communications of the company, that is Stanley Marty, said, quote, the Weija Dam is currently at the level of 49.5 feet as against the maximum operating level of 48 feet. So it was 1.5 feet higher than what is expected, and that has led to this entire situation. The public, it said, could call or WhatsApp the Ghana Water Company Limited on a number of numbers there. Let me just mention one. So the toll-free line is 0800 40,000. 0800 40,000. If you need any assistance, you can reach out. 0800 40,000. But tied to that, we'll go to page 20. And it's all about our water resources, flooding, and everything in between. So aftermath of floods, water company shuts down 2 treatment plants, and the Ghana Water Company Limited has shut down 2 water treatment plants as a result of the flooding of the pump stations and damage to equipment. The plants are the Achimota treatment plant in the eastern region and the Jambusi treatment plants near Wa in the upper west region. The flooding in Odan was due to torrential rains and illegal mining, also known as galamsey, while rainfall, in addition to the spillage of the Bagri Dam in Burkina Faso, led to the flooding of the plant in Jambusi. Talking about the effects, again, the PRO for the GWCL. Mr. Marty said the shutdown of the Odan plant had affected water supply to Odan, Akwetia, and Kade. He said residents of Koforidua were also experiencing low pressure in some areas of the municipality due to the flooding of the plant at Densuano. The flooding has affected all the equipment of the plant, he added. So twin problems, and definitely, apart from flooding, which partly is related to how we're dealing with our environment, there's also galamsey. Your reactions, Doc?
Yes. Our actions are speaking volumes of what is happening to us. Galamsey, we have said it, and people will not mind. government has become adamant and is not in a position to enforce the rules simply because some of its members are accused of undertaking galamsey, so government has lost it. And now the effect is on all of us. I mean, Oda, a very cocoa growing area. When growing up as a little boy, my uncle had a village there. So I lived virtually all my life on Oda and its environs. Right. And there's a high place for production of cocoa. Today, we are undertaking galamsey, and the effect on cocoa production is, amazing. What are we doing as a society? Do we sit down and then look unconcerned? No, I think if government will not act, civil society groups within all these places must get up and use the law to address this thing. Because otherwise, a time will come, you won't even get water to drink, let alone look for water to go and mix chemicals and work on your farms and all that.
Farmers now, just to interject briefly, farmers now are complaining that even to get water, they have to travel quite a distance when, in fact, there are water bodies around them that they can't use. Cocoa farmers have complained that to mix their chemicals, to fertilize their produce and all of that, they have to use sachet water. That's how bad it is.
Can you imagine that? It's a shame unto all of us that we need to address this problem head on. Two is the issue of flooding. Floods have been with us every year, and our leaders don't seem to care about it. They will talk about it and then leave it. The talk shop must end. We need to walk the talk, all right, and do something about flooding. And that takes us to what? The way we keep the ecosystem. I mean, we are virtually destroying where we find ourselves. They will come, nobody will tell us the effect. We have started experiencing now. Look at Koforidua, Oda, now experiencing water shortage. It's a difficult one. I have lived in Koforidua and I have lived in villages in Oda and all that. So I can tell the difficulties that people are going through. But we are going to see more if we don't put an end to activities that damage the environment.
Well, on the back page of the paper, 3 billion audience to watch Qatar 2022. It's all about the Mundial, and it's just a few days to go. In fact, 46 days as we count down. And interestingly tied to that, if you go to the Facebook Live page of JoyNews, you would see there Milovan Rajevac, our former coach, talking about the fact that unity is crucial if we're going to make any strides in the Mundial, this global event. He may not be our coach, but it appears he still has fond memories of Ghana. Let's wrap with some international stories and sex for grades, corruption. Buhari, Nigeria's president, says sexual harassment in the country's universities has reached alarming proportions, and as such, law and order agencies are rightly treating it as a form of corruption. That's how it's been categorized. Let's head to Ukraine. And they are making some strides against Russia. They have retaken more territory in regions illegally annexed by Russia, with Kiev's forces advancing near the southern city of Kherson and consolidating gains in the east. And finally, back here in Africa, Burkina Faso is burning. Ghana's immediate neighbors to the north, Burkina Faso is burning yet again. In less than 2 years, Africa has experienced coup d'etats in Mali, Chad, Guinea, Sudan, and Burkina Faso. Any quick reactions before we leave the Daily Graphic newspaper?
I'm worried about the preponderance of coup d'etats in West Africa. We have struggled for a very long time to build a society that we call democratic. And today, all the gains, we are working against the gains of democracy. For me, as a student of democracy, I always stand for democracy. It doesn't matter what. Yes, we have seen some of the causes of these things being bad governance, poor economy, and the rest of them, human rights abuse and all that. If you read the U.S. State report on human rights, you read gory tales of human rights violations. We have also seen poor economic performance. I mean, economic decadence and all that. And our leaders seems to have no clue as to how to address the situation. All these things are the factors that soldiers rely on and stage coup. But that is not to suggest that coup d'etat is welcome. Never. Because I want to live in even a West democratic government. That doesn't give me anything, and I'll end up as a poor person. I prefer that because I'll have my freedom. That we refer always to the Gaddafi's Libya, where they say development. It's a development in the cemetery. It's not developing anything. It is not developing anything at all. let us have a build a democratic society that will stand the test of time.
Right.
We should not encourage soldiers at all.
Right.
And that is why the Convention on Elections and all that must be strengthened. And then we look at, the democratic architecture. How long can somebody stay in office? I think the two tenure, sometimes 4 years and so forth, must be extended to about six, so that at least when people look at it, they know that they can come 2 terms for 12 years. That would do good for the society. I spoke about it when I appeared before the ECOWAS Parliament, and I think we need to revisit that. But apart from that, we as society should not be deceived into believing that soldiers have something for us. They have nothing. They will only pretend, and at the end of the day, we will be the sufferers when they are gone. Please, let us not encourage any military rule in Africa. It doesn't matter how benevolent they will be. We would throw them away. Let's stand up against military rule. It is the worst form of government.
Let's blaze through the rest of the papers we have this morning, Doc. And Ghanaian Times newspaper up next. 38 foreigners grabbed in Accra. That story on page 3. 3 accused persons in Mankesim murder case remanded. And cocoa farmers pension scheme set to take off this month. There's also GCPS obtains €10 million grant to conduct in-depth research into NCDs in West Africa. Let's start with that story on page 3. In fact, both of the stories on page 3. And about 38 persons alleged to be migrants from Niger were yesterday rounded up at Abofu in Achimota, Accra by the Ghana Immigration Service. All women, with some carrying children. The migrants were rounded up during a decongestion exercise in Accra organized by the Regional Coordinating Council and led by the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Mr. Henry Quartey. They were picked up around 11 a.m. by the GIS to its headquarters for further investigations. Now, the Municipal Chief Executive of the Okaikwe North Municipal Assembly, Ni Boy Laye, told the media that he was informed about the arrival of the migrants by residents at around 6 a.m. yesterday. He said the alleged migrants were said to have been dropped by a bus around 11 p.m. on Monday, with the whereabouts of the bus yet to be known. Mr. Laye noted that the intelligence found out that the migrants were making a transit from Niger to the Ivory Coast and other places. Ghana seems to be I know across the West African sub-region, many countries have rather porous borders, but it appears ours are particularly porous, and especially in this time of terrorist threats, coup d'etats in the sub-region, it poses quite a threat how easily people can get into our country. And even if they do not have any nefarious intent, the scandal on our streets, where they line our streets, they beg, they harass you, some threaten you. I don't know what your take is.
It's a worrying situation. It's worrying because, one, we don't know what are under their sleeves that they will, unleash onto our society here. Let us remember that some terrorists can take advantage of the number of people who have coming through this country illegally and then act very funny.
Right.
So for me, there's a security concern. The second issue also goes to the fact that what has happened to our security officials? Did they notice them or they took them by surprise? Are they working? Are they drawing salaries for which they need to work and protect all of us? And all of a sudden, we are caught in this web. I mean, it's something strange that they were able to travel from Niger to Ghana and that none of our security officials at post was able to recognize.
Let's talk about immigration and customs. Pardon the interjection, but they would often tell you about logistical constraints, human resource constraints. Just a few days ago, the Customs Service was here when we put out our latest documentary, one of our latest, Smuggler's Paradise. And they were telling us about how they are constrained when it comes to human resource. They can't be everywhere. They simply don't have the numbers.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That you want to give people a job, you don't want to support them with resources. How can they work? And for me, that is another aspect of the conversation. It's a difficult one. And that we need to, take some of these matters seriously because, take it or leave it, once we work to undermine the very security we want to build, we destroy our society. So I don't see why we can have money for things that are not so much important. And then the real security that we need, for which reason we set up government to protect life and property, and we are not able to fund that program. That becomes unfortunate. Let us remember that as soon as you break the social contract, people now resort to disobedience to the state. Is that what we want? we need to check these things because they don't send clear signals to us that we are in good times at all. I think our state, our government, our security, and all of us can do better.
And just to expand a little as your former student on that bit about social contracts, we give our power to those in authority, ceding to them what is our power so that they would work in their interest, in our interest. And if they fail to do that, of course, there has to be consequences. I remember in class back then, this other lecturer, I've forgotten his name, he would talk about delivering the goods, the bacon. And if you can't deliver the bacon, of course, you will have to step aside. Interesting dynamics.
Social contracts, yes.
Let's talk about two more stories. I'll tie them together. 3 accused persons in Mankasim murder case remanded, and Christopher Clark to Fuhene of Aquacrom, and accused in the murder of a prospective student nurse, Georgina Asobotri, at Mankasim in the Central Region, has appealed to the court to release the 3rd accused person, Jonathan Oping, a 26-year-old Mason. Clark, before proceedings ended at a Cape Coast District Court, raised his hands and said the 3rd accused, Oping, had no hand in the murder of the victim since he was only hired to dig a hole in the Clark's room. He said the 3rd accused person had done no wrong and that the crime was committed by him and the 2nd accused person. I mean, it's a dastardly act that they've committed. 4 people now that they are said to have killed, but I find this development rather interesting that he says, you know what, this other person is not involved. We just gave him a job to dig and he did that. It's almost as though they had a conscience, though they've done unconscionable things.
Let's leave it with the courts. Let them finish. We'll come back and look at it. Yeah.
Tied to that, manager in court for slashing worker's neck, and this just might be of great interest to you. A Chinese, Shui Hui, a manager of Polishangda engineering company in Takoradi, was charged with attempted murder when he first appeared before the 2nd D Magistrate Court on Monday. Shui was charged with the offense after he used a flip knife to slash the neck of a Ghanaian concrete mixture operator, Isaac Boating, at Kwekuma near 2nd D last Wednesday. His plea was not taken and he was remanded in police custody to reappear in court on October the 11th, 2022. It goes on and on, but I always say this. It appears we've emboldened some foreigners. And it's not to say that, I mean, they say South Africa is a rainbow country. I believe Ghana is as well. We're very accommodating to other people, but it appears we may be going over the top now and allowing some people not of local extraction to come and almost demean our own. This is not the first time we've heard of a Chinese, someone of Chinese extraction coming to do something like this. Here, he nearly killed this gentleman. Your take?
I still want to leave it with the court. Let them finish. Let them finish.
Alrighty, let's look at the back page. Government considering fertilizer COI for Africa market. That's according to Mr. President. And Kokma tows 50 vehicles for unauthorized parking. That is the Koliklote Municipal Assembly. That was yesterday. Let's quickly get into some other stories. Daily Guide newspaper now. Mankasim killer begs for suspect. I just brought you that story. Ukraine war biting African economies hard. That's according to World Bank country representative Pierre Laporte. Some people don't want to hear of this because they say, look, it may be having effects, but we're blowing it out of proportion. We're making a mountain out of a molehill. But that story on page 6. Nana I's Mida Compact 3, and we want justice for all parties, Chinese man's lawyers. And it has to do with that situation I was just making mention of, where a Chinese man actually slashed the neck of a concrete mixer. In the middle page, late Echo Blankson's video goes viral. And I'm sure you know him. He's, of course, been a manager here at the Multimedia Group. But a latest video in circulation shows, just a sec, Doc, late actor Echo Blankson in the hospital interacting with the personnel of the hospital. In the video, Echo, who was wearing a white African print attire, all smiling, could be heard telling the personnel that he needed to take a video to show that he was in the hospital. And unfortunately, we've lost him. Your quick take?
It's a very unfortunate story. I know him. I've read about things that he does and all that. It's unfortunate we lost him. Consulant, we want to console or mourn with the family and then strengthen them. They need to be strong in this time. But let's move on to Ukraine war, the effect on the economy. All right. There is no two ways about the fact that, look, times are hard all over. Even before Ukraine, we had challenges. It can't be the excuse in Ghana for any country. One, if you look around the inflation figures of countries within the sub-region and other places, you realize that in spite of all this, some of them are doing well. What has happened to our economy? It means there is something basically wrong with our economy. We should get that straight. Two, how long can government continue to blame the poor performance of the economy on Russia-Ukraine war? This is similar to saying that colonial rule has made us poor, and for that reason, we cannot come out. No.
Right.
We have gone through these things a long time. So it is the duty of government, which we trust and voted for, that it will fix this problem. Any excuse must be pushed to the back door. We don't want to hear, we don't want to know. All that we want to know is that we have people who are competent and have what it takes to manage the economy. That is all.
Right.
Any excuse will not inure to their benefit. Let them remember that one of the factors that influence voter choices in this country, number one, is the economy. The earlier they fix the economy, the better it is for them.
Right.
If they are eyeing 2028, that 2028, that they will break the 8. We want to see whether they will break it. If they break
2024, actually, to break the 8.
Sorry, 2024.
Right.
Because, look, what we are seeing now, we are in difficult times, but they need to get serious and fix the economy and stop the blame game. It will not help them.
Doc, I'll take a few headlines from 3 papers. I'll give you less than 2 minutes to react to them, and it's a wrap. Republic Press, UT boss Kofi Amoabeng flies into rage, blames Akufo-Addo and Ofori-Atta for the economic woes of our country. Mahama pushes government over IMF deal. Then you go into the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper. Professor Kwesi Yanka writes, Birim River is gone. Birim River is gone. And recently, my own colleague Erastus Asare Donko, in that latest Hotline documentary, Destruction for Gold, actually brought to the fore how we've polluted our different water sources. And the Finder newspaper, 300,000 passport booklets expected in the next 10 days. That's according to Foreign Affairs Minister Shelley Ayuko-Botry. People have struggled to get their passports in recent times. Quick reflections, and it's a wrap.
Yeah, I will look at Brim River. It is very, very unfortunate. Recently, I've seen pictures about how flood is causing havoc at Chebi and other areas. Very, very unfortunate. But we have come back to the issue of the fact that we are destroying the environment through Galamsey and all that, and we'll sit down unconcerned. We need to pay dearly for that, and we're experiencing. Experts who have been telling us, don't destroy the environment, don't destroy, and we keep on destroying the environment. Now we are seeing it. It's not far-fetched. It's here. And the earlier we do something better, the better it will be for us. 2, the issue of, blame Akufo-Addo for economic woes. Apart from the president, who else? I mean, he is in charge of the country. We gave him mandate to fix everything for us. And he promised us that he has what it takes to do. So if we are in this mess or we are in such difficulty, then I think that he is the right person to address this problem for us. I mean, there is no other person, because if we are able to build a very solid economy, the president will be entitled to that credit.
Right.
So on that score, we expect him to also build if we are in difficulty. That's it. So I'm having what he said. It's nothing but what the right thing that he said. He hit the nail right on the head. The president must get his people together and fix this. I think that it is not beyond them.
Right.
They can. All that they need is that you don't need ideas only from MPP people, good people of this country. Just they have to extend the hand to all of them, those who have what it takes. There are a lot of, look at economic scholars who are talking and all that. And sometimes I ask myself, are they in this country? And do we want to make use of them? Your station has featured a lot of them. And if you look at ideas that they throw out on radio, TV, and all that, you ask yourself, are they far from government?
Right.
And government can reach them and then make the better use of them so that we can fix this up.
Doc, we're grateful that you took the time to join us this morning, and we wish you the very best of the rest of the week.
I'm also grateful to you. I wish you a good day.
Thank you. That is Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, political scientist, also director for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Before we cross over to sports, I just want to remind, and I'll do this constantly, Ghana Police Service, Dr. George Ekufu Dampare, Mr. IGP, or Dr. IGP, I greet you. One of your men, Che Pepra, assaulted some people on Sunday at Kaneshi Bishop. The story is out there. We've put it out. Tens of thousands of you have followed the story. We're not going to stop. We want to see some action. The Police Professional Standards Bureau has waded into the matter. We want to see action. A police officer simply cannot go out there discharging his gun, firing shots at civilians and assaulting them, slapping them. So Dr. Dampare, if you're watching this morning, I am saying to you, we want to see action. We want justice done. On that note, we segue into sports. Do stay.
Good morning. Time for AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. Black Stars psychologist at the 2006 FIFA World Cup. Dr. Yao Mfojo wants the Ghana Football Association to deal with all bonus issues that will arise leading up to the 2022 World Cup in Qatar in order not to derail the focus of the team. Ghana's participation in the 2014 FIFA World Cup was marred by disagreements over appearance fees and bonuses, resulting in player revolt. Dr. Mfojo, who is Black Stars' first psychologist, has been speaking to Joy Sports in an exclusive interview.
The teamwork focus, I mean, somebody like the current coach, Utoado, has been there. He was part of the 2006. He's seen it all before in terms of, so just focus, you know, simple things, settle all the, whether it is, again, money is not, it's not even the amount of money. It's not, I mean, people make a whole big song and dance, but I mean, the kind of money that these players are paid, it's really it's a drop in the ocean. But it is also such that, you know, you settle everything because you don't want to have a situation where anybody's emotion is diverted from, you know, what they got to do. I mean, just a simple analogy. Look, you know, when you got to eat, your blood flow is diverted to your stomach. So if you got to play, your blood flow is diverted to your legs, your arms, whatever. And if you got to get angry or whatever, the blood flow goes to the brain and it's just, you know. So exactly, so it's important to simplify things by not be diverted by unnecessary stuff. So sort out all the simple basic things and let the players focus on, and the team and whatever focus on the work that they are there to do, to deliver. That's it.
The extensive conversation will be aired at 2:30 p.m. on the JoyNews channel. Now let's move on. The disciplinary committee of the Ghana Football Association has sanctioned Legon Cities for gross misconduct in their season opener against Midiama at the Elwak Stadium. There's more in the following report put together by my colleague, Musbao.
The Ghana Football Association Disciplinary Committee has directed Legon Cities Football Club to pay 2,000 Ghana cedis to referee Charles Benle Bunlu after supporters of the club deflated the rear tires of a vehicle belonging to the match official after a Ghana Premier League game. Additionally, the GFA imposed a fine of 8,000 cedis on the club after it was found guilty on 3 counts of misconduct in their matchday 1 tie against Midiama SC at the Elwak Stadium. The ruling comes after the club was last man charged for breaching Article 16 Clause 1C and Article 16 Clause 2F of the GFA Disciplinary Code 2019. Again, the club was charged for failing to ensure the safety of match officials as officials of the club, Salifu Yaya, Kwabena, Asensu Unyina, were seen verbally attacking the match officials while on their way to the dressing room and also attempted to physically attack the referees. The club was also charged after its supporters deflated the rear tires of a vehicle belonging to the center referee, Charles Benle Bunlu. Additionally, a player of the club, Michael Ampedu, has also been handed a 5-match ban in addition to the mandatory suspension he is to serve for receiving a red card in the match after he was found guilty of assaulting the referee on the field by punching his mouth. The disciplinary committee, which was chaired by Vice Chairperson Carla Olympio, also handed a 10-match ban to Kwabena Asenso Onyina, an official of the club, after he was found guilty of acting in an unsporting and intimidating way towards match officials on the day of the match.
Still on the Ghana Premier League, newly appointed head coach of Midiama SC, David Duncan, has urged fans of the club to be measured in their expectations for the 2022-23 Ghana Premier League season. He's been speaking to Midiama TV.
Yeah, I mean, I very much applaud, and I appreciate so much, their love for the club, how partisan they are, how passionate they are, to stand behind the team, root behind the team, and support the team through thick and thin, you understand? And I'm just hoping that it would be so throughout the season, because, of course, I mean, I wouldn't promise them heaven, but the game of football, and the kind of results it chance out from time to time. I mean, they should just continue to root for the team. Like I'm saying, it's a marathon, so in a marathon sometimes you can lag behind, but at the end of the day, ultimately, what the situation ends up is what they should judge the team by. And of course, their input is going to be very much welcome, which is their support, unrelenting support, even when the going gets tough, because the game is played 90 minutes plus and anything can happen within that period of time. And it is at that point when the going gets tough, that will be needed most.
Raja, a community in the Gassouth municipality, water from the Densu River entered homes after overflowing its banks. Many residents have now abandoned their homes.
3 days today is very hard for us, even to leave your children in the home to go out and do your market. You can't go to do anything.
Rita Sika is one of many displaced.
Last night there we went to the Abain school and sleep. Some of them sleep there, and some of us, we have some friends and others, and we went there yesterday.
So your children are not going to school?
No, even today my boy didn't go to school because of the water.
Life as she knows it has changed.
This one there, you can't do anything, even going to the market, you can't do anything.
With nowhere to go and her belongings lost, she is only roaming the community. Her son, Gideon, couldn't go to school. His uniform and books are back in their home, which is now flooded.
That affected me to not go to school, and my learning too is not going well for me. At the night, my mother was having a friend, we went to sleep at the house. I miss learning so that I can become a good boy in the future.
The only road connecting the communities around Ashalaja to Kasua has also caved in. With only a small portion of the road left, residents bent on crossing it had to be guided. Owners of vehicles had to return because it was impossible to cross. Emmanuel Tay, a resident of Obeyeye, recounts the difficulty of crossing the submerged road on foot.
This is very bad. It's very, very bad. Yesterday I couldn't bring my car home. So the boys were here yesterday directing the affair, how and we should move in and out. So a lot of people have packed their cars. They couldn't go home with the car. So I have information this morning that I cannot use the car, so I have to pack my car. Yesterday I was very afraid though, because I have not experienced it before with the car. The first time when the bridge collapsed, I was not having a car, so we managed through with the boat. But this time, as I was driving, I have not driven through water like this before. So yesterday I was very, very afraid, but I have to gather some courage and pass through yesterday.
Assemblyman for the area, Wisdom Avonyo, says they had to use boats to rescue stranded residents, but finding a boat was a hectic job.
In fact, for the homes we are over 500 and the individuals are over 2,000. Because right now we have this situation pending at Kwamianu, a place called Mamines Junction. This situation is there. We have it pending here, which is this place, we call it Assemblies of God down. Then we have the same situation again, pending at 3rd October down. So you see that Ashalaja is a place that is being bounded by this river, Densu. So all the banks along the Densu where we have these communities and structures, they are all affected. Because we needed a canoe. And NADMO didn't have any to supply us. So we have to follow the individuals and then the locals and see how best. So we were planning to go to Afuama, which is a fishing community. But luckily enough, we had a neighbor who was fishing and we called to him for assistance. But unfortunately, to be frank, the whole place is being invaded, being encroached by these sound-winning activities. And anytime that you get there to go and raise them, they are all armed. And they come there in the night. So we find it very difficult. So if the government can come with a strong team, I think it's going to do a massive work. Because when you look at the threat from Ashalaja, Afuama going, all has been encroached upon. We need the assistance of the government strictly.
Affected residents want authorities to come to their aid. For JoyNews, Michael Ashale.
Well, thank you for staying with us, and that's how we kickstart our big stories. In fact, this major one that we're getting into today, affecting over 1,000 communities or households, I should say, and over 1,500 people affected by that situation. Well, we're joined right now by Samuel Amegaibo, Executive Secretary, Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. We also have joining the conversation Engineer Mahama Abdullahi, Roads and Building Consultant, joining us for this conversation. Engineer Mahama, I see you with your red background. A very good morning to you, my brother.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I am well. It's been a while. Is that a Black Stars jersey you have on?
Of course.
Right. Just to kickstart the conversation on a lighter note, Milovan Raivat, former coach of the Black Stars, who was ousted, says, guess what? The team needs more unity to scale the hurdle of the Mondial in Qatar 2022. Any quick reflections since I see you in the jersey?
Unity is all about success. You understand? Our success is all about unity. So when the players become very united, I think they can watch each other's back during the competition. It gives you some more momentum on your play. My team is Manchester United. Now, since we became a bit united within a few weeks, you've seen that at least we are doing well, even though we've been trashed by City by 6 goals to 3.
Though we were disunited by the citizens. That's my team as well. So anyway, so let's get into the substantive conversation. Off the top of your head, so we have a situation where there was a dam spillage at Weija. Some community members, a unit committee leader in the community says in 20 years, this is the first time he's seen anything like this. What do you make of what has happened, especially as it was unannounced? There was no announcement. It had the tempo, like Magnum would say, had hit critical level, and then they had to spill all of a sudden. What's your assessment of that?
I think, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers first and foremost, and those who are going through some hardship this morning. We pray that they get some respite from the NADMO and other agencies that will come to their aid. I was on, I think, TV3 yesterday with the PRO of Ghana Water Company, Stanley Marty.
Right.
And he said that they announced, in fact, they've been having a routine announcement to the community. They've involved the chiefs, they involved the assemblymen, they involved the opinion leaders, the MMDCs were all notified. So I don't know where the other allegations are coming from. That was yesterday night. Now, they are witnessing.
So it was yesterday night that he told you that prior to the spillage, they actually had, alerted the communities?
Yes, on air, on TV yesterday at 10 p.m. He said it, yeah. So if there's anything to go by, I'm just using his words. That's what he said yesterday night when we were on TV3 yesterday. The people are experiencing something they have not seen before in about 20 years. What we witnessed in Stawam, we had to do some few research or investigations and some questionnaire around, and the elderly, those who are within the ages of 60, 70, 80 were telling us that the last time they experienced this was 1968. And for my 14 years stay within that catchment area, I witnessed the inundation of the water on Monday to go beyond the old Nsawam Road, which was the Kumasi Highway, the old Nsawam Accra Kumasi Road. The water went across the road, and so for some, I think for an hour or two, there was no vehicle using the Nsawam Town roads. But just fortunate that because we did the bypass, a lot of vehicles were able to use the new road at the back of the Nsawam community, which was a bit elevated high. So there was no issues with the new road, but the town road had some challenges. The issue is not witnessed or experienced downstream. What is happening in Chebi, it started like last week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it was building up. And once you're having precipitation of water for a certain duration, the land or the soil becomes highly saturated. Okay? So when I realized that there were some floods.
Use the technical terms. In other words, it can't take more. It can't take much more, right?
Yes. So let's say, assuming that you are standing on the ground, and the water table is about 3 meters below where you are standing. So anytime it rains, the infiltration of water can occupy the 3 meters from the ground, the existing ground. Now, when there's a sustained rainfall and the whole water table rises almost to the top of the soil, there's no more infiltration of water. So the water will now naturally find its own course. Unfortunately for us, those who are actually at Weja, Tetegu and its environment, even though they are also contributing to what the devastation they are experiencing now or witnessing now, a lot more is being executed at the top there. Chebi, Densusu, Apeja, Oyoko, Akwedum, Okrase, up there, underneath the mountains from the eastern region. They are contributing quite a significant quantity of water through the Densu. Now, when it gets to Nsawam, it goes through the Nsawam to the Lante, then to Media Kotoku, then it finds itself to Asalaja, then to Tetegu and then Weja. So, unfortunately for us, the vegetation cover is being really highly undermined by the galamseyers. So instead of having only flow of water coming to the banks of the river, it is accompanied with high or a higher quantity of silt because you have already exposed all the cover of the soil. So instead of the water running on the grass or the trees, it is running and eroding every silt because of the intensity of the runoff. Now, when the water is beginning to slow down, then you have this high deposition of silt that actually reduces the capacity of the riverbed. And when that happens, and the other challenge is that a lot more people are constructing their facilities closer to the river. A lot of examples are witnessed in Nsawam, Lante, Asalaja, Media Kotoku. So once you do that, you see, the water would have slowed down before it gets to Accra. So there will be a very gentle flow upstream, downstream, because the embankment is so wide that the water would actually cover a wider area before it gets to Accra. Let me give you a typical example. You know, Professor Mamu wrote a book, and he said in the late 70s and 80s, when it rains in Ebri, it takes about 72 hours before the runoff are witnessed in Accra. Now, in about an hour or two, when it rains up there, the water is already witnessed or experienced in Accra. So these are the few things that we cannot do anything about as of now. Because the global warming has also made the sea to rise. The ice is melting. Once it's melting, the sea levels go high. That's why, remember we had an interview with the Dansuma people, the Glife people, when the sea was actually eating the community. And I told you that at a point in time, the sea will be eating us into the land, and the river will also be eating the land into the sea. So we'll be reducing the area for occupation.
Are you still resident in that area? Are you still resident in that community?
Yes, yes.
When it comes to putting up structures there in the first place, a lot of people have said that, especially with the Weja Dam in that area, some of these settlements are simply hazardous, that they shouldn't have been there in the first place. And that time and again, warnings have been issued. We've spoken about some of this before. What is the reality from the engineering perspective?
Well, the Greater Accra Regional Minister must be applauded in no uncertain terms. Every single now and then. I know he's going through a lot of obstacles in the actions he is taking. Some of the MMDCs are unfortunately sleeping because there are specific laws that within a certain boundary of the wager, the Densu, no settlement is supposed to take place there. So when I hear the MMDCs lamenting that we have told them not to stop and not to construct, and they are constructing, the laws are explicit. It said any building which interferes with the public right of space must be pulled down with no any condition. It says that the officers of the land, the assembly, may without notification to the developer carry out instant demolition, alteration, abatement when those buildings are considered as a nuisance to the environment. And these buildings are nuisance to the environment. Now let me give you this cliche. Governments have been talking about one challenge they have, that because of our land tenure system, government doesn't have absolute control of sales of land. But that's why government was so smart enough to put it in the law that I don't have the control of your land. But once your land is situated in a flood-prone area, I have my discretion not to issue you permit for construction. So government has a power that can be used. You have your land. This land can only be used for agricultural use, because they are very close to the river. But when you want to come and put up physical edifices, the law prevents you from doing that. And there's one of the laws that says that even in the swampy area, if you are going to put up a building closer to a swampy area, you have to provide alternative flood control measures before the assembly will now give you approval, i.e. creating of big channels so that any water that is supposed to be facing your facility will be diverted so that it doesn't inconvenience those who are behind you. So the laws are there. It's the application. And then the assemblies work. The task force have to be, they shouldn't be pathetic with the issues. I think they're having a lot of empathy for the people. But Ghanaians, when you allow them to put out those buildings there, they are behaving like ostriches. They know that when the rains come, they will be affected. But the normal thing, now me prevent me tiatum, so you allow the person to rather endanger himself. Yesterday the PRO was saying that if we don't spill the wager and the dam collapses, we need about 5 more years. In fact, when it collapses, people are going to die. We are going to lose almost all the property within that catchment area, and it takes us about 5 years to construct a new dam. And that wager dam is supplying water to Accra, the Greater Accra, about 80% of the whole population of Greater Accra. So you can imagine that if we should go down for 5 years without the water, without the dam. So the spillage is necessary. They have been duly warned. For the past 5 years, we sit on radio and talk about the fact that people should not put up their structures within those catchment areas. When there's spillage, they will be affected. Yet, they are still doing it. And unfortunately, when you get to the Salaja area, the police are also not doing enough for us. People's farmlands are being overtaken by the sand winners. They go to coconut farms around those areas, including in Sawam, because of place Aklama. They go, and then when people have planted their crops, coconut, palm nut, and things, these people go in with the payloaders, and then they are digging all the material, exposing the pump plant at the mercy of the weather, and the police are not acting swiftly on it.
It is indeed a sad situation. Let me bring in Samuel Amegaibo, Executive Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. Mr. Amegaibo, good morning to you.
Good morning, Benjamin.
And my apologies for holding you for quite a bit.
Oh, that is fine. I was really enjoying Engineer Abdullah's contribution.
Thank you for your patience, sir. So we'll get into whether even building there in terms of town planning is the right thing and what we could have done that we've not done. But I'd like to start from where I kick-started the conversation with Engineer Mahama. So the unit committee member for Wager, Elder Amponsa Ampao, has said that in 20 years this has never happened. But here's the interesting bit. Engineer Mahama says, Stanley Mate of the Ghana Water Company Limited says they gave them forewarning. But the unit committee member is blaming the situation on the failure of the new manager at the Wager Waterworks to heed the advice of the National Disaster Management Organization to start opening the gates in bits to allow the free flow of water from the eastern region. He said people had lost many items through the flood. So usually it is a sort of phased approach. 2 gates rather than the 4, like we've seen it in this instance. What is your quick take on that? Could this have been avoided before we get to other matters?
I think if there is an organization that had the capacity to have an assessment for which, based on that, they advised the water company and they did not hit to it, then that's rather unfortunate, because these things have to be taken seriously, especially when you have been forewarned about a possible danger that may befall us, and you simply did not hit to it, then that was quite unfortunate. But I guess there are several factors that contribute to some of these things, and so that's why I said that Engineer Mahama has given us very important technical information which may have contributed to this. And I will just wish to add the following, that we all know that sometimes there's little one can do when it comes to natural disasters. You may pay any solid engineering framework that you may have in your country, they can still suffer some of these natural disasters that you have.
Mr. Abegaibo, I'm losing you a bit.
It's happening when it could be avoided, meaning that measures that one could have taken to ensure that this thing don't happen were not taken, and then we get to this point there. That's quite unfortunate. So you realize that most of these things stem from the problem that we have in this country, where development are always behind settlement. We realize that we have communities where we end up heavily developing properties there before even our development authorities come in to put in the necessary road networks, the drainage systems, and the other infrastructure that will be better manage some of these things. Unfortunately, it's one of the major problems. And so instead of the normal thing where we come in with the basic infrastructure, the road network, and the drainage system, because that will take into consideration the nature of the ground, the terrain, and all the other factors, such as when this site, for example, is closer to a dam, one would have made room for the spillage of the dam and schedule proper arrangement for the gate opening and all that. This would have taken place if there was proper planning ahead of development, which I'm sure is not taken. Then we come to the other part, which is the actions and indiscipline on the part of developers who, take the law into their own hands, are very indisciplined, and don't take the laws, the bylaws that governs our development in this country into consideration. And so you find them developing on waterways, and when we have inadequate rains also, then the problem gets compounded. Then, as I mentioned, the non-compliance to development regulations and bylaws, it is one of the heavily abused laws and regulations that our authorities are finding difficulty to confront it. And it will surprise you to know that some of them, the development of the authorities, the district assembly, have staff who are part of the situation because they are conniving and compromising the laws that they are supposed to enforce, and conniving with some developers to disregard the laws that we have. And then there is heavy encroachment in certain areas. I think if you have a well-planned community there are certain development regulations that restrict certain kinds of development in certain areas, including development of waterways, which I mentioned earlier that this has been also heavily abused. And we need to get our laws working to ensure that these things don't happen further. And then one of the issues too has to do with paving. There is a regulation about any residential or any property that you develop with some limitations on the portions of the ground that you have to pave. You realize that most of us, because we don't have the patience and time to do adequate provision for proper landscaping to include greening, we realize that we are very much in a hurry to concrete almost all our compounds. And so the amount of water that hits the surface is unable to percolate into the ground area. And so too much water is collected on the surface and it has to find its way far away to the areas where there is room for percolation. And so there's so much accumulation that occurs at a goal when we have this torrential rain occurring in these communities. And the accumulation becomes too heavy, and so it gets compounded and then give us some of this problem. And then now I'm hearing from Engineer Muhammad that there's even calamity issues affecting this community. And I think actually the issue of calamity is over discussed, but under managed. And that is why we are having this problem. So I guess the authorities will take up this calamity menace to the level that it has to be taken to ensure that people don't enrich their pockets at the detriment of the general population who should suffer because of indiscipline on the part of a few of us who have decided to make money their number one contract at the detriment of everybody. I think we need to confront this challenge head on. And then Mahama also mentioned again global warming. I have attended several forums that this is being discussed. It is a global matter, and obviously every nation, every country, and every community has a role to play to ensure that this global warming issue also doesn't get out of hand. And we have professionals who have been advising us on some of the measures we need to take to affect some of this. But it's all boiled down to adhering to comply with the advice that are given to us, and then also the regulations that we have to enforce. Then I also want to join in commending the regional minister for Greater Accra for the work he's doing about taking on some of this demolition of properties that have been wrongfully developed in areas that are not supposed to be. I think it's a very commendable effort from his part. It is not all political leaders who have for lack of a better word, who have the balls to pick up some of these serious matters and take it to where he's taking it to. I'm sure he's really facing stiff opposition from even party people, but it is a serious bull person like he's doing. And so I will personally want to extend that the effort he's putting in doing this. It's just that it has to be applied evenly. Not that some people will suffer what he's doing and others will go scot-free. And so I believe that he's doing this in phases. And so that all the other places that haven't seen this good work from him will also receive good work. Right. Then the spillage from the dam itself. As I said, if we had adequate plans in place and the area was well planned off, obviously spillage from dam would have been taken into consideration and a proper schedule agreed between the authorities that be in that area to ensure that this things are done at certain times that will not give us any problem. But like I said, once in a while you get hit by natural disasters and torrential rain that can overwhelm you. Right. And given all your perfect engineering arrangements you fit. But I can see clearly from what we are seeing on your screen right now, and some of the things that we have spoken about, it is more of indiscipline on the part of us. Developers, when I say developers, SME, real estate development. Anybody who is into development, if you are building a kiosk, you are a developer. That is what you should understand from this. That every developer must be willing to comply and adhere to the laws of development. Benjamin, this is my initial comment. Thank you.
Well, we know that whenever there's an overflow at Nsawam, like one of the residents pointed out, adjoining communities, Tetegu and others will be affected. In this instance, New Weja, Tetegu, Oblogo. As far as English Yamanfro affected in this entire saga. But I'd like to, put you on the spot a bit.
And Joseph Kojo Achiku, also known as Doctor. The pastor saved his friend who was nearly swept away by floods.
I lost my car. It was submerged. And in fact, a lot, personal effects are all gone. Everything, talk about it, everything. The carrying took him. So I had to try to save him out. And I got hurt, in the process. Yes.
As the sun sets and it begins to get darker, reality starts to dawn on the affected persons. Here at the Tetegu Junction, many of them carry what they managed to salvage to the residences of loved ones, family members and relatives where they will spend the night. This man, who only wants to be known as Bride, says his sister will spend the night at his home.
I'm going to my place. I just went to rescue my sister and the children. So because the water where there is too much. It's not small water where they reach here. So that's why I went there. So we're about to go my place now.
Another man who wants to remain anonymous says he has been compelled to sleep in a nearby hotel. His mattress and home appliances have all been swept away by the flood water.
It is very bad. It is very, very bad. It's very bad. Actually, I came here 3 years ago, but this is not how things used to be. But this one there is very bad.
Some of the residents were away at work when the flood got worse. They have returned and are now stranded.
So these are personnel from the Marine Police who are here on the ground with boats to rescue more people here. But we see a lot of activity here today with a lot of residents, scores of them moving to safe ground where they tell me they'll be spending the night. Many of them have had their rooms flooded.
Here, I've met the Greater Accra Regional Fire Commander DCFO Alhaji Nuhu. He's here with the Deputy Director of Operations DO1 Joseph Forsen. They are helping throughout the night to bring relief to the people.
As far as the emergency situation is concerned, we have been on red alert already. And so since morning, we have, as a service, we have responded to places, about more than 3. And all those places we rescued people from there, 3 different places in the area. Talk about Teteku. We also went to White Cross. We also went to Tampa Valley and other places to do rescue as a service. And then apart from that, we are collaborating with other agencies that are at the grounds to effect other rescue of personnel and people and then their effects.
Many of the communities are now without power for close to 24 hours as electricity supply to the affected areas has been cut. Reporting for JoyNews, Maxwell Agbagba.
And that is the situation there. We hope that timely interventions will save lives and property. But for the first time in the history of our educational system, Ghana will produce its first Bachelor of Education cohort from all 46 public colleges of education. Following a review of the educational system in Ghana in 2004, 38 teacher training colleges were upgraded into diploma awarding institutions, and 8 more were subsequently absorbed, which totaled 46 colleges of education. Well, joining us for a conversation on that we have our guests, Professor Jofus Anamwa Mensah, Board Chair, Transforming Teaching, Education and Learning, that is TTEL. We also have Dr. Emmanuel Nyamiche, Principal, Akrokeri College of Education, and National President for the Conference of Principals of Colleges of Education, that is PRINCOF. We also have Professor Mohammed Salifu, Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. All of them join this conversation. And I'll start with Professor Mohammed Salifu, but let me just say a very good morning to all of you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right.
Good morning, and thank you for having us.
Great. What is the novelty in terms of this entire enterprise when it comes to this first cohort of Bachelor of Education students?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I think everything about the program is a novelty in itself. I'm sure you are aware about the process that teacher education has undergone over the years. And we used to have a 2-year post-middle certificate program, then we went to 4-year post-middle certificate, a 3-year post-sec, then that went on to diploma. And currently, as at since 2014, there was a decision to make this transformative intervention to focus teacher training on a certain policy, the policy which is driven by standards to drive the learning outcomes in the classrooms, preparing teachers who will be able to deliver this in our classrooms, because we have significant concerns about our learning outcomes. So in the end, what we have in the shape of the Bachelor of Education is not just an upgraded program from the diploma that used to be. It's also a structurally, reconstructed program which is focusing on the practical aspects and attainment of certain competencies which the teacher needs in the classroom to affect learning outcomes in our school systems. So in its entirety, it's a novelty. And there are not too many jurisdictions around the world that you have a minimum entry requirements into the teaching profession being a bachelor's degree. And I want to say that, in those places where this is the case, these count among the very best in terms of learning outcomes.
Thank you, Prof. Salifu. Let me bring in Professor Anamwa Mensah on that same bit. How historic is it, this latest happening? How historic, how momentous is it?
Well, I think it's very, very historic. This is the first time that in our education system we have a national teachers standards. We've been training teachers on different types of standards. Now we have standards that really speak to the kind of teachers we want to have in Ghana. And these teachers should have a professional knowledge, professional attitudes and values, and they should have a professional practice. So these three, combine together to give us, and I don't think, we're one of the countries that has, this kind of national teacher standard that speaks to the kind of teachers we want in your country. And there are many things that go with it, creating and in teachers, making sure that issues of gender biases and stereotyping is removed from the system. Issues of using technology in education, in teaching and learning, is also embraced in it. So we have quite a lot of things, and it came also with a different kind of way. When we have now 5 universities actually, superintending the training of teachers. So by the beginning, it's a strength, and so that we can create something that Ghana needs.
Let me bring in Dr. Nyamiche on this beat as well. I mean, we've witnessed several transformations in our educational system. What exactly was the systemic problem that necessitated this change, which we are celebrating now?
Thank you very much for having us. Fortunately, the two professors who have spoken before me have actually given us what used to be the case, where we are now, and where we hope to go to.
Right.
The case used to be that our teachers before this new program had the opportunity of doing just 2 programs. Only a few colleges offered early grade, and then the rest did something else. And so when they leave school, they are either sent to the primary or the junior high schools. But now we have quite a number of colleges pursuing early grade programs. We have all colleges doing primary education, and then all colleges also pursue junior high school education. So at the end of the day, the expectation is that when these students come out of training, they would be able to competently teach in these areas where they have specialized. Because from semester 1, first year to the final semester, they do practical training throughout these programs. That used not to be the case. And because of the practical nature of the programs they are doing now, the expectation is that once they complete, they would be able to transmit whatever it is that they have learned to the students that will be given to them to teach in the basic schools.
Prof. Salifu, I'll come to you on that, self-same point, but from a different angle. What is unique about this Bachelor of Education program? What makes it stand out? I mean, the University of Education, whenever comes to mind, and what it's been producing. What makes this particular program stand out?
Okay, so I think some of the features have been articulated already. So the first thing is that in terms of the focus on the practical training, so the teacher from day 1, as part of the curriculum from level 100 to level 400, is constantly engaged in one aspect of the practical training or the other. Right. That's the first one. The second one is that we are not training generalist teachers. This is based on specialisms now. So okay. You focus on early grades, or you focus on primary education, or you do JHS, which are based on specific subjects that you specialize in. So these are very important features of this program. The other part, which I think Prof alluded to, was that this is based on very specific standards. So we have an expectation of what a teacher must be, in the classroom.
Right.
The kind of competencies that this person must have. How do we roll that out in the curriculum and in the instruction in preparing these teachers in such a way that by the time they come out, they are equipped with these standards? So the national teachers standards and then the assessment policy, which we develop, are supposed to make sure that they keep them on track. So by the time they get out, they would have had those competencies, which drive them. So this is very unique in all those respects. And right. We've also invested a lot of time and effort in upgrading the governance system within the colleges, and then also building the capacity of the teachers who are teaching the pre-service teachers. In terms of the colleges of education teachers, a lot has gone in there in terms of improving the governance and giving them certain policy instruments that would make the system truly tertiary and be able to deliver.
Thank you, Prof. Let me bring in Dr. Nyamiche. You just heard Prof talk about the competencies and how they would be enhanced. But what are the new teaching methods that are going to be brought to bear with these teachers? And how are we going to ensure that they are able to impart same in the classroom? What's the plan? Hello, Dr. Nyamiche. Are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
I lost the last part of your...
So I was asking, especially as Professor Salifu is talking about the competencies that will be enhanced, I am asking, what are the new methods that you're going to bring to bear in teaching these students, and how exactly, what is the plan to help them pass this on in the classroom?
Well, I indicated earlier on that with the new teaching methods, the case used to be that students would do practical work mainly only in the final year.
Right.
This time, once they come to school, very first semester, they do these things. They do observation, they practice how to teach, they live in the communities around the various colleges. And then once they are going through all of these, the expectation is that they would master the art of doing practical teaching in sort of the theories that we are used to having. And then each college now has a room where we refer, the rooms we refer to as the teaching learning material storeroom, where students are expected to do all kinds of teaching materials. These are stored in there. As and when they are needed, they are sent to the schools there, and then they are used to teach. And the teaching is also hands-on this time, even with the pupils that our trainee teachers are supposed to be teaching. They are expected to do hands-on activities. And once they're able to do this, they master the art of whatever it is that they are being taught. And once they master this, it won't be, as I indicated earlier, theory as usual. This time, the students understand the concepts that they are taught because the teachers themselves have been taken through training programs to be able to impart this to the students that they will be teaching.
Before I bring in Professor Anamwa Mensah, let me bring in Professor Salifu. You started with this cohort in 2018 in terms of this Bachelor of Education program. What were the challenges faced? How did you surmount them, Professor Salifu?
Okay, I think the most immediate one, which I believe you remember, was our issues with the College Teaching Staff Association. Because we had this ambitious program planned, and at the point of rolling out, and they had issues about conditions of service, and so it kind of it was a hiccup, in terms of rolling out from the beginning. We also had a few issues about infrastructure and then the staffing capacity in the colleges of education. And so we had to contend with these things as part of the planning and adaptation process and rolling out the program. So the training the colleges of education to the universities was based on the plan that the colleges will be delivering programs in these specialism areas, and the universities were identified in terms of the kind of specialization they bring to the table. So we needed a partnership between the universities and the colleges to deliver that, built on a certain memorandum of understanding which GTEC moderated. So it kind of solved the human resource capacity issue. And a couple of investments have been made in terms of some basic infrastructure. And in addition, as I said, capacity building for the teachers who needed to deliver within the colleges of education. It's an ongoing process, I must say, and we are still very much involved in rolling out the program as planned.
Professor Anamwa Mensah, so we know that in 2018 the affiliation took place, and these institutions were paired with, if you like, the 5 public tertiary institutions. I'm talking about UG, UCC, KNUST, UDS, UEW. What has been the impact of this affiliation?
Well, I think the most important thing is that the universities bringing their experiences, in really mentoring, because all of them have been mentored in colleges, university colleges. So they bring in that experience, but then they also bring in the experience that the UCC, for example, UEW, all have in training teachers. So this is a collaborative thing where you have these college universities teaming up and working together to ensure that they're all on the same wavelength and be able to ensure that the proper thing was done. And one of the most important things was to put the student that the teachers who were being trained, were going to teach at the center of the whole curriculum. And then the teacher himself being also at the center, so that we ensure that when the teacher goes out into the field after graduation, we'll be able to, transfer, whatever is being taught over there. Because in the curriculum, we ensure that, they apply what they are learning into the students in the field. So these were all put in place to ensure that this is done. And the universities have done so well with them. They organize trainings and workshops and so on, and then bring them up so that they understand even the university system, how it works and so on. So some of them are part of their academic boards and so on, helping them, like holding hands, so that they can progress as they go along.
Before we talk about World Teachers Day, let me bring in Dr. Nyamiche just on this point. So there are national teacher standards, the NTS, and there is a definition of who a good teacher, whom a good teacher is. How well has the NTS prepared these student teachers to effectively deliver on that mandate? Dr. Nyamiche? It appears we don't have Dr. Nyamiche at the moment. So maybe, gentlemen, we can wrap the conversation on today being World Teachers Day. What message do you have for all pre-service, in-service, and beginning teachers across the country? I'll come to all of you who are online with us for a quick message on that. I'll start with Professor Salifu.
Yeah, thank you very much. We can only take the opportunity to send words of congratulations to our teachers who have been very, very critical in the preparation of our human resource.
Right.
As you'll notice from the theme for the celebration, I say the transformation of education begins with the teacher. It appears we caught the cue, a long time ago, and this is what led to the packaging of this BEd program and the current progress that we are making. We congratulate them, but we look forward very much to the impact that they'll be making as they come out. It will take a couple of years before we see the real impact because it has to manifest in the eventual learning outcomes. And so we are keeping a close watch on that to see the difference that the BEd program would make. Congratulations to all our teachers, and I must say that we love them. We love them. They should continue with their hard work.
Professor Salifu, we're grateful you could join the conversation. Let me go on to Professor Anamwa Mensah. Your take on World Teachers Day?
Thank you very much. I just want to add my voice to that congratulations to all the teachers. They are what I call the nation builders, the true nation builders. Without the teachers, there are no other profession. So they are the real nation builders. And we need to recognize that. And we congratulate them for all the efforts they are putting in inside their classrooms to turn the kids around, the students around, and make them better citizens of this country. We thank them for their sacrifices in various ways. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Anamwa Mensah. If we have Dr. Nyamiche, we'll take your thoughts on World Teachers Day.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I lost out a bit. We are anxiously excited about what the future holds, especially with the introduction of the new BEd program. We know it would succeed, but we want to see how it works out. And I would want, again, my colleagues have said that already, to congratulate all teachers for what they have done and what they are continuously doing for Mother Ghana. We wish them and all of us very best. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And of course, we know that for the first time in our history, we're going to produce our first cohort of Bachelor of Education graduates. Well, joining us for that conversation, Professor Joseph Anamwa Mensah, Board Chair, Transforming Teaching, Education and Learning. He joined the conversation. We also had Dr. Emmanuel Nyamiche, Principal, Akrokeri College of Education, and then Professor Mohammed Salifu, Director General, Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. Well, it's Wednesday. And you know, every Wednesday, courtesy of EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, we have AM Business. Today, James Ashan takes a look at the efficacy of the distress action by the Bank of Ghana and the Ghana Police Service on illegal foreign exchange dealers on the black market. His findings air next on the show.
This is how the day started. After several weeks of warning from the Bank of Ghana to the illegal foreign exchange dealers. The illegal foreign exchange dealers running helter-skelter to escape arrest by the Ghana Police Service. The distress action was mainly taking place at the Central Business District of Accra. At the end of the distress action, over 76 illegal foreign exchange dealers operating in the black market were arrested. Most of the perpetrators were foreigners, mainly from Mali, Niger or Chad. Market dealers are said to be contributing to the rapid fall of the cedi to the dollar and other major foreign currencies. According to the Bank of Ghana, this is a measure to save the fast depreciating cedi. Speaking to Joy Business, head of Forex Exchange Bureau at the Bank of Ghana, Adjoa Konedu Toto, indicated that the exercise will continue in other parts of the country in the coming days.
As long as we have them on our streets, we need to clean the streets and we need to have licensed ones coming into our central bank to pick their license and paying the necessary taxes that will let the country grow well. It has been a lot of, it's causing a lot of havoc to our Ghana cedis, our sole currency. And even though we keep on telling everybody to engage the licensed ones, we see a lot of people, and most of them are not licensed. Today, the people we arrested are not even Ghanaians, and they come into our system and distort everything that we think is lawful. So it's just that it is something the police and law enforcement agencies must do, and we came in from Bank of Ghana to collaborate to give them the muzzle to do the needful. So I believe that the police will continue, other law enforcement agencies will come after those who don't have license.
She, however, maintained that members of the public who patronize the activities of black markets are equally guilty before the law.
Bank of Ghana, together with Ghana Police Service, decided to undertake this long-awaited clamping of illegal foreign exchange dealers from the streets of Accra. And it is something that we intend to do across the country. And as you all know, if you don't have a license to operate in Ghana, a license issued by the central bank, it is an offense to trade in any foreign currency. And for the past few years, we see them seriously engaging in this illegal act. Public education has gone out, and so we see these unlicensed institutions around. So today we decided to start something that will be an ongoing thing throughout the country. We decided, and luckily or fortunately for us, we happened to get over 76 illegal operators on the streets. And we are saying that it is important that the general public desists from engaging in business with these unlicensed ones.
The bank went ahead to issue a statement to deter others from trading from illegal foreign exchange dealers. Head of Financial Stability, Dr. Joseph France, also had this to say on illegal foreign exchange dealers as well as forex bureaus engaged in such acts.
We are able to, sensitize the public. Once we get the alert, we conduct surveillance onto the market, and we get some of these, and with the help of the public, and that tells you how some people are getting to understand they appreciate what we do. So some of these things come to us. People are getting to send us information, send us one alert or the other, send us a few things. You know, in this part of the world, it's very difficult for one to report, like you said, reporting a brother or reporting someone who lives in the vicinity and so on. But gradually, people are getting to know that you shield these people and you are creating problem for everybody, including yourself. So we are getting some bits and pieces of information as to who is doing what, and then we go after such people. Such people who are online, since we easily put their names out there, like we published last time. These are faceless people who are not even in our system. You go to Registrar Generals, you won't find them. They are somewhere else and they are operating. And but when we empower the public, for the public to know that these people are Shylocks who, once they get hold of you, will cut you into pieces, will get hold of your money and probably take advantage of you. Obtain receipts, number one, and obtain identity, number two. Is pasted in a bureau. So the public should assist in this regard, that you purchase forests and you have to ensure that the bureau gives you receipt. You're going to purchase forests, you give out your ID. The ID is not supposed to, the ID helps you yourself, the purchaser who is going to purchase. Anything can happen. You can purchase forests, you walk out of the forest bureau, and you can be attacked of having stolen money.
Okay.
There will be, what do you call it? A proof that you purchased from the forest bureau. You purchase money from the forest bureau, you're going to put it in your account, and you could be arrested for having, you know, so anything, I'm just citing these examples. So getting your identity to the forest bureau operator doesn't mean that you are under the radar. That doesn't mean that you're under investigation. It's just a proof that ABC came to the bureau and purchase this. You understand? So gradually we are sensitizing the public, but we think that the public should also be cooperative in helping the bureaus to also, you know, execute this thing, which is an obligation, you know, than to just walk into a bureau and say that I don't want my card, I don't want my identity to be given. If you are not prepared to collect, I'll move to the next person who will, you know, so that if you have all the bureaus not accepting, you will cooperate.
After 2 weeks of this distress action, Joy Business went out to check if the illegal foreign exchange dealers are still operating or not in some parts of Accra. At the Kwame Nkrumah Circle and around Tudu, illegal foreign exchange dealers are ready to offer service to customers.
And that is my colleague James Ashen there for AM Business Today, assessing the efficacy of the Bank of Ghana's moves. We take a break, and when we return, today is World Teachers Day. How are we observing it in Ghana? More on that after the break. Welcome back on the AM show. Without a teacher, you probably wouldn't be where you are today. And that's why we celebrate them today across the world. Joining us for a conversation, Ayikwe Awule Adokwe. He is with the Coalition of Concerned Teachers. Mr. Adokwe, a very good morning to you, sir.
And good morning to all your viewers.
Great. On a momentous day like this, as we celebrate in the country and up north here in Ghana, what are your reflections on the teaching profession in our country, and what do you make of this day which we celebrate today?
Thank you very much. I would like to, first of all, congratulate all teachers in Ghana for what they have achieved for Mother Ghana in times of all these difficulties. Those who are being sidelined or have been put in a position where they will be receiving awards, and those who are still in the classroom teaching even as we speak now. I say congratulations to all of them. And I would like to narrow down to the theme of this occasion, that transformation of education depends on the teacher. I think we've gone through a pandemic, COVID-19, and for almost a year, all around the world, there was this difficulty in teaching and learning. And so we realized that there is a need for us to do more as a country, not only for our children, but even for the teachers. The kind of training we even give to our teachers must change. Teachers ought to go through in-service training to ensure that they can even do online teaching, or as we know, digitization has taken over everything that we are doing. I'm also trying to reflect on the Ghanaian teacher as a person, his social life, and how he goes about not only on the academic environment, but also among his peers. Is the teacher well off? Can you say that the teacher is well-to-do? Is the teacher able to take care of himself in this time of difficult economic condition that we are going through? And are we really following the conditions of service and applying them to the letter? As you find out that you go to some of the villages and you realize that in a whole school we have only 2 qualified teachers, and they teach from class 1 to class 6. You can also go to some schools where you realize that the whole JHS is being taught by just 2 teachers, and nobody hears of them. Nobody knows where they are. Nobody even knows that they are there for them to even be their names to even be mentioned and to be awarded in one way or the other. And so we are looking at all these people and how much the country can put in to support this kind of teachers in whatever they are doing.
Now, you already started broaching the subject of the teaching profession and all of that, even at the tertiary level. I remember clearly how some years back, I believe it was the KNUST that wanted to recruit a teacher from some other African country, I think Zimbabwe of all places. And this teacher said that the salary structure, the scale was simply beneath him. It was embarrassing, to say the least. But is the teaching profession, even at the highest level, at the tertiary level, is it rewarding in Ghana? And what more can we do to make the teacher better off in our country?
I think you know what we are hearing. You've seen, you've heard even last week, the UTAC and other affiliate bodies have served the notice that allowances are not even being paid, and if not, they will embark on an industrial action.
Right.
This will tell you that from the preschool level, basic school, secondary school, to the tertiary level, things are not right. If you compare the salary that a teacher takes, an average teacher in Ghana, I know a teacher who has taught for over 30 years. He is an assistant director one, and his salary is even not more than 3,000 Ghana.
Wow.
So I don't know even how to compute it into dollars. About $300, right? Even less than $300.
It's almost as though for every 10 years of teaching, he had been earning 1,000 cedis.
Yes. So it tells you that things are not right, and as compared to other countries. No wonder you find out that when the opportunity comes, some teachers will find their way to South Africa and some of these other countries because they have, and even some of the Turkey and some other, because they have the English background, just to go and teach English, so that even if they are receiving $1,000 in a month, they prefer that one than being in Ghana with the stress, transportation costs, and you don't even have the necessary teaching and learning resources to do what you wish you could do. So things are really difficult, not only at the basic level, but even at the tertiary level. So we are teaching because we have to teach, and we are doing our best. We like the job, but at the same time, we would like government and other agencies to look at the welfare of the teacher, to ensure that the teacher at least is able to take care of himself and his family so that he can give up him or her best.
Of course, all of these conversations we're having trigger conversations around minimum wage, around the benefits for teachers across the strata. How well do you feel this administration, this government has fared in bettering the life, the lot of the ordinary teacher?
Even as we speak, the Public Services Joint Standing Negotiating Meeting have not been held for us to even know the minimum wage and then the base pay for 2023. We are even yet to do that. By law, we should have done this in April. And I think it's not been too good. It's not been good at all. Gone are the days when we could even see salary increment of 18%, 15% and co. Now you are hearing salary increment of us. Maybe the highest has been 10% since this present government.
So in recent years, I think in the last 2 years, 4% and 7%.
Yes, and I'm saying the highest has been 10%.
Right.
And then the last 2 years, we had 4 and 7. So look at for about 6 years now, the highest has been 10%. Then even the least, talking about 4%. So it's not been good. It's not been good. If you have not fought for this 15% cost of living allowance, which has already eroded, I think the plight of the Ghanaian teacher would have been worse off. Talking about our conditions of service, it is even not being fulfilled. Vehicle maintenance allowance is not being paid. Teachers teaching in rural areas, there is a need for them to receive 20% base, 20% of their salary as an additional incentive for teaching in these rural areas. It has not been implemented, and a whole lot of things. So I think the only thing that a teacher gets is the basic salary that we all know, which is nothing to write home about. So I think this government has not done much for the Ghanaian teacher. The only thing that we can say is about the EPD, the Continuous Professional Development Allowance, which is 1,200 every year. Approximately, then we can say 100 cedis a month. And it doesn't even commensurate or match up to the amount of money we spend in building up our points when we go for workshops and all this. Because you go for one workshop and they are charging 70 Ghana cedis, your TNT, your feeding and everything. And a month, even if you go twice, look at the amount that we are going to spend. So I think the government needs to sit down and do something more for the Ghanaian teacher. It is like we are not seeing the interest when it comes to the welfare of the Ghanaian teacher. Even talking about the Ghana Teacher Prize, I think His Excellency the Vice President has attended the program twice. That is all. That is the highest official that has ever attended the Ghana Teacher Prize program. And it is the Vice President of Ghana twice. His Excellency the President has never attended. Sometimes you don't even find the Minister of Education. Last year, the Minister of Education wasn't even there. So I think government needs to sit up and let teachers know that we are recognized.
And that's an interesting point you make. Government needs to sit up and let teachers know they are recognized, or you are recognized. So just hold for me, Mr. Adokwe. Let me bring in Professor Solomon Nunu, who is UTAG president. Prof. Nunu, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Great. It's interesting because Mr. Adokwe says, I posed the question to him about this administration and how much had been done for teachers, and he was rather pessimistic, not enthused about where the teacher finds himself currently. Today, we celebrate teachers across the world. How much is there to celebrate in Ghana?
Here in Ghana, the situation at the tertiary level is no different from the one the picture being painted by Mr. Adokwe. Because you look also at the tertiary education sector, there are so many unfulfilled issues concerning conditions of service that on a daily basis we are always hampering upon. Today, I'm sure you might have come across the community issues to our members and also to the media concerning the strike action, which has to do with vehicle maintenance allowance, off-campus allowance, and so on. So, yes, the government did decline this, but from where we sit as teachers at the tertiary education sector, we think that it's not much, it leaves much to be concerned.
Let's talk about that latest statement that you put out as a union. Let's just take a quick look at it. So, of course, it has to do with the blatant unilateral variation of agreed conditions of service in the face of hostile economic conditions. And following the press conference by UTAG, GAWA, the SSE, the University of Ghana, and TEU GH with FUSAG in attendance on Wednesday, the 28th of September at the University of Professional Studies, the national leadership of the 4 labor unions have had a series of engagements between some stakeholders of tertiary education institutions in Ghana. And you state in there, upon further deliberations among the national leaders, we write to communicate that the intended strike action or industrial action of all labor unions in the public universities in Ghana takes effect from Thursday, the 13th of October 2022. This gives the employer and all stakeholders of tertiary education in Ghana one crucial week to reverse the directive that seeks to negatively compromise the conditions of service of university workers. And you say at the end, meanwhile, the national leadership of the labor unions in the public universities in Ghana entreat all members to stay calm and cooperate with leadership as we navigate this trying moment. Tell me, what exactly are the crucial issues to take stock of in this directive, for which reason you want it reversed?
From time memorial, for as long as I've worked in the tertiary education space, when it comes to off-campus allowance and vehicle maintenance allowance, it's always been tied to liters of fuel. So actually, I'm entitled to about 80 gallons of fuel. So 80 gallons of fuel normally we have to take a liter rate, which is actually released by the employer from time to time. So those liters of fuel are released. This year, when they release the new rate, they are insisting that they don't want it to apply to the on-campus allowance and vehicle maintenance allowance, which is contrary to our conditions of service that we have enjoyed for the past many years. So basically, that is the directive that has come, and it was a unilateral decision of the government without taking into consideration the plight of the teacher. But cost of living is going high, for which matter it's important that these things are looked at. And I believe there's wisdom behind why these things were tied to the liters of fuel. So why the unilateral decision to take it at this time, when we all know the economy, things are quite difficult for workers and we need support.
So tell me, you've given a deadline of October the 13th, after which you would hit the streets or lay down your tools. Has there been any engagement from your employer with you as of now?
So far, there's been a series of engagements. Even yesterday, we had a meeting with Vice Chancellor Ghana. So there's been a series of engagements. However, Each of them, they keep taking the fact that they need the Ministry of Finance to be in the room. So they will be with us to keep them up to close of work on Friday. Meaning Monday, they will be able to sit with us and address the issue once the Ministry of Finance will be in attendance. So for now, that is what they are selling. And it's based on that we thought that, okay, it doesn't. Let's give them this room that they are saying this is what they need. So if that's what we need, Monday, let's them and then address the issue. Otherwise, then we have no other reason to lay down our feet, because we can't afford the floor to come to the office.
So that first meeting to which you were called, would you say it was at least a step in the right direction, fruitful?
I think for now, we are only trusting them that they would do their side of the package. And it's based on those tasks that we are allowing another week to pass.
Gentlemen, before I wrap with your comments on World Teachers Day generally and what your expectations are, I'd like to find out, a lot of the time when this day is held, just like with farmers, teachers are given some prizes, packages. What do you make of those packages like we've seen in the past? Are they dignifying of the work that teachers, lecturers put into the work they do in our country? I'll start with you, Prof, and go to Mr. Adokwe.
Oh, okay. When you come to us, those of us in the tertiary space, nothing is held for us
right.
in terms of celebrating us as teachers in tertiary education. Nothing is that. Mostly the focus has been on basic education in times past. So nothing is happening at this level. So there's nothing to talk about.
Should we be thinking of something, whether at the institutional level, that is the University of Ghana, the University of Cape Coast, maybe starting with the public institutions, or should it be something coming from government?
I think starting at the institutional level will be a good way to start. And so if we can start doing that, at least it will be a step in the right direction. After that, we can start considering having it on the national scale. But not having anything at all, it's actually not the best.
Prof, just hold for me for just about a minute or so. Mr. Adokwe, what is your take on that self-same matter?
Yeah, I think at the basic school level and the tertiary level, something is actually done. The Ghana Teacher Prize is taking place today.
Do you mean the basic and the secondary, or basic and tertiary?
Basic and secondary level.
Right.
So, as we speak now, when you go to the University of Development Studies, a program is being held to award, that is for the National Ghana Teacher Prize Award. And I think when you come to the various regions and even some districts, it is also organized for basic and secondary school teachers. And I think it is improving. The awards, what goes with the award is improving. I think the best teacher will take home a three-bedroom bungalow at a place of his or her choice. So we are looking forward for more greater things to happen. But we would have wished
should it be expanded?
Even if it is not a public holiday, it will be a holiday for teachers.
Right. Should it be expanded? I mean, just a few people get recognized, one major person. Should it be expanded to cover many more people, many more regions?
Definitely, it should be expanded. I think when they started first, second, third, but now we have even added best basic school teacher, best secondary school teacher, best preschool teacher, and all those aspects. But I think we should also give massive recognition to those in the hinterlands, those teaching in the villages who are not even here to even apply to receive any award. And no supervisor is even able to visit them wherever they are, because you need to even swim or sit in a canoe to cross a river and all. So I think more people should be recognized, especially those teaching in the hinterlands.
Gentlemen, your final thoughts. Mr. Adokwe, I'll start with you. World Teachers Day, final thoughts.
I think I would like to take this opportunity again to congratulate all the awardees and those who will also receive something will be recognized at the Best Teacher Awards taking place in the University of Development Studies. And I will also entreat the powers that be to ensure that teachers are well catered for, so that at least what is due us, we get it. We are not asking for anything extra. And we should also receive the recognition that we need. I think that would be okay.
Mr. Adokwe, we're grateful that you took the time to join us. Very meaningful conversation we've had. Professor Nunu, you have the parting shot.
Yes, I would like to wish all teachers in the tertiary education space, especially university teachers, well on this day. And I wish for them to be able to work and be able to bring many of the teaming youth who visit or come to our university for training. They will be able to attend to them and keep them the best. So our employer will encourage them to do more. They should be able to do better than what they have been trying to do in the past, because the world cannot be any better place without the teacher.
Professor Nunu, we're grateful for your time. Professor Solomon Nunu is UTAG president. Well, we're about to wrap right here on the AM show. We'll take a little breather and return with some messages. Do stay.
That we have found a need to also reform.
Well, thank you for staying with us for all these 4 hours. It's been a delight coming your way. But before we go, Hello Ghana, happy moment is here. Let's storm World Cup Qatar 2022 with Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water from Casapreco Company Limited. All you have to do, purchase your favorite Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water. Text the 4-digit unique number on the neck of the bottle to short code *780#. Choose option 2. Follow the prompts on all networks for free. You could be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. You could also win, alternatively, TVs, fridges, microwave ovens, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks, and much more instantly. So don't waste any time. Grab a bottle of Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water, and let's storm Qatar this World Cup. This promotion is on the NLA Caritas platform. This advert is FDA approved. Do remember, terms and conditions apply. And on that note, we have terms and conditions on the show as well. We have to wrap. Up next, JoyNews Desk. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Thank you for allowing me into your homes, offices, and wherever you've been watching from. Have a good day.